These jobs were so toxic, people quit on the spot. Not even a chance, not even a warning. I worked as a cashier in a local shop. One night, two guys came at me with knives. And tried to get in the till. I just walked away and told them to have at it. My minimum wage salary wasn't worth getting into with a couple of guys waving knives at me. Yeah. Definitely not minimum wage. Even good money though, not worth risking your life. Just so you know. After they ran out of the store, I picked up my mobile and called the police, then called the store manager. The next day, the district manager met me as I turned up for my shift. Her first words were, "It was very unprofessional of you to be on your phone while at work." What? Did she not know what just happened? I laughed at her and told her she could take this as my notice and walked out. I never had a problem with being held up, but the sheer gall of that comment got me. You're worried about the phone in my hand? What about the men with knives in their hand and the money from our till? My dad was in hospice and for 3 days he was up and down. Oh, I'm so sad. I'm so sad. I'm sure you're so sad. I'm sorry. We had been told several times that he was close to dying. Well, on the third day, his breathing was extremely shallow and his systems were shutting down. I got the call at work that I needed to come down because they were preparing end-of-life care. I went to my HR person and told her the situation. She said, "Did he come back to life and die again? Because I'm pretty sure you've used that excuse before." I told her she could go F herself, then I quit. Rightfully so. You gotta have like no soul to say that to someone. Even if you thought they were lying, you know what? You keep that in here and you go, well, you know what? I don't really believe them. You don't say that to someone. What a risk to take because their dad could really be dying. Which they are. Terrible. I had been working for a financial company in SoCal for about a month. It was a little stuffy, but otherwise okay, until my manager came over and asked why I took so long in the bathroom. It was literally 5 minutes for me to take a dump. He mentioned something about having to count it as a break and me being more careful in the future or something. I laughed, handed him my badge, and I left. Like, give me a freaking break. Okay, well then, you know what? You would hate me because I have IBS. So I would be so screwed. Also, mind your own freaking business. How uncomfortable at a job for like, what took you so long? Do you really want to know what took me so long? Do you want the details? Because I'll tell you what took so long if you really want to hear it. My older boss didn't understand how an Excel spreadsheet worked. Fresh out of graduate school, I did some calculations for him as he requested and printed them out, and he proceeded to freak out on me because I didn't do them by hand. Yelling, he berated me in front of everyone in the office, took my water glass and threw it against a wall. Breaking it to pieces. Then a coworker looked over my work and said everything was done correctly. I applied for a new job after work that day, and I've worked there for over 7 years now. I can deal with lots of garbage, but I'm not dealing with a boss who has the emotional capacity of a 2-year-old. And the worst part is, he could have appreciated that you didn't do it by hand and that you did it on a very organized Excel spreadsheet. Maybe he would even want to learn how to do it for his own business, you know? But I feel like he almost got offended. You know what I'm saying? When people are stuck in their old school ways, sometimes they're like, I want it done this way. I don't want to change. I don't want to adapt with like more current times. They just want to do it their way. And that was the outcome. Yippee-ki-yay. I was in high school working at a pizza place. I had been there for almost 2 years and it had gotten worse as time went on. The bullying between staff was bad because we were all teenagers. One night we had a lull. What's that? In a busy rush. Girl, what? Lull in a busy rush. Now I know what's, girl. Guys, I was like, we had a lull in a bushy. I was thinking of like a bush party. Where is my mind? We had a lull in a busy rush, and a coworker turned to me and asked, so is it a boy or a girl? We had a manager who was very pregnant and running the store that night. So I said, I don't know, you'll have to ask her. He looked at me with a smirk and told me, no, I'm asking about you. I immediately turned around and walked out. I proceeded to chain smoke on the back deck and debate if I was really going to leave or not while delivery drivers were begging me to come back inside. I called my parents and my dad was furious. He totally supported me in my decision to quit right then and there. So I got the manager, told her what happened, and said I couldn't work there anymore. She was super understanding and wished me the best of luck. The owner was mad, but I met with her and told her the work atmosphere she enabled was the real problem. Yeah, I am so scared for that, you guys. If you haven't been following me on Instagram the last few years, I've shared my digestion and stomach issues that have landed me in the hospital. I have genuinely looked 9 months pregnant, and you're probably looking at me like, Joce, you have abs. That's not possible. You're probably being dramatic. Let me blow your mind and insert a photo here. I genuinely looked pregnant all the time. That wasn't like, ooh, I'm just a little inflamed. No, I was hospitalized more than once. It was like beyond inflamed. I was not pregnant. Never been pregnant. Was not pregnant. I still deal with it sometimes. If you know, you know. Follow me on the gram. I talk about it all the time. I need a sip of water after that. We're hydrating. All aboard the hydration station. Choo-choo. Let me know what's in your cup. But take a sip of water. Okay, you guys, it's good for you. I tell my editor too. Take a sip of water. It's good for you. Cheers. My grandfather, who I considered like a father, passed away after a long stay in the hospital. I'm sorry. We were closer than he was with his own kids. Our bond was quite special. I spoke to my manager about getting the day off for his funeral since I was organizing part of the arrangements and getting a day or two of bereavement leave, and he agreed. The day of the funeral finally came and the staff started calling me, leaving me messages asking why I wasn't at my shift and telling me while I'm in a suit hosting family members at the funeral home that I had to find someone to replace me or face repercussions. Needless to say, I told them to figure it out and never looked back. I would do the same. I wonder though, if you spoke to your manager, was it their fault that it wasn't organized properly to get someone to cover your shifts? Like, where was the miscommunication from all the other people who are messaging you on this very difficult day? Someone messed up. When I was 15, my dad oh, there's only one on this. Forced me to get my work papers and get a job. I got a job as a hostess at Applebee's. They hired me with the understanding that I was a teenager in high school. At first. I only worked 2 or 3 nights a week from 4:30 to 7. I was always first cut. Gradually, I kept getting stuck until closing, which meant I wasn't finishing up and clocking out until 9:30 at the earliest, usually closer to 10 or 10:30. Then I was also put on every weekend. I worked a double shift on Mother's Day, though I had school the next day. I tried multiple times to explain I was a teen and this wasn't something I could keep doing, but I kept getting brushed off by both my dad and my managers. When I dropped shifts because I was tired or needed to work on schoolwork, I got reprimanded. The final straw was when I was scheduled for an opening shift and was told I couldn't drop it, like during school hours. It didn't matter that I was supposed to be in math class then. I quit then and there. That's crazy to me. Although, let me tell you, I faced that all the time when I worked at Tim Hortons. So I finished school and I would work 3 to 11 some days during the week. What am I doing? What are you doing, homework? Please tell me. I would get done school at 2:25, take the bus to my Tim Hortons shift and work 3 p.m. to 11 p.m., walk home. By the time I get home, it's almost midnight. I gotta be up. So you're told to get a job, you're told to work, and then people are getting mad at you for not getting good grades in school. I'm sorry. You can't freaking win. I remember it being very hard as a teenager too, because a lot of the older staff would always be like, oh, well, you're young, you can work the closing shift in this. And so I did. I worked 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Like, I was always the late shift. I totally, as an older person now, I get what they're saying. They're like, oh, you're young, you don't need sleep. Because looking back, I didn't need sleep. I very much cherish sleep now. So I totally get their perspective, but I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. That's tricky because I guarantee you're taking up these shifts and then maybe your grades are slipping because you're working all the time, and then you might get in trouble for your grades slipping. Yeah, life of a student though, right? Am I right? I had a very stressful job and was expected to answer Slack messages from my boss at any time or I would be fired. He was in a different time zone, so often I'd be woken up at 3 a.m. and get yelled at to do something. One day in the office, he was talking crap about me on Slack and accidentally posted it to a channel I was in. I was killing myself for this guy and he didn't even appreciate it. I packed up and left. Best thing I've ever done. If you've never used Slack before at a job, oh my God, that was one of my biggest fears. I've used Slack at a lot of jobs. A lot of jobs in film use it. And my biggest fear was sending it to the wrong person or this and that. Not because you're talking shit, but even just like if we were talking about something confidential between managers, I was worried that I was sending it to like the wrong group. And oh, I just remember the stress. I still use Slack at my day job. Now, got to be careful with your fingers. My best friend and I worked a second job as ushers in a large arena so that we could see all our team's NBA games. Smart move. Over the season, we got tight with the owners of the suites on either side of where we stood during the games. Near the end of the season, I started dating a guy in security who had previously dated my boss. Ooh, drama. My boss and I had a little tiff at a bar after the event. She was very angry at me, and on the day of the last home game of the season, she scheduled my friend and I to work at spots that were in back corners at the arena where we wouldn't see anyone. We weren't going to get to see any of our season ticket holders for the last time, and we were so hurt. It was so petty, I couldn't stand it. So instead of spending the final game stuck in a corner, we went to her office, turned in our blazers and bow ties, changed into our street clothes, and our other friends let us back in. We watched the game from a luxury suite instead. She saw us, but there was nothing she could do about it. I mean, I feel like it's a little bit childish on both ends. Like, let's be real. Like, okay, you're dating the guy I used to date. I have the power. You're going to the back. Petty. Let's be real. Let's be real. But also, if there's other employees and stuff, like, I guess you can't expect to have like the best spots the entire season. Like, you're at the back one side of the entire season. Some people were back there the whole time. I walked out of a bar job that I'd had for 2 years while telling the boss to stick his job up his arse. This was because after cashing up for the night, he found that my till was 2 pence short. He said he was giving me a written warning for it. The arsehole had been trying to sack me for a while because I was pregnant and could no longer do the heavy lifting involved in cellar work. Here in the UK, you cannot sack a person for being pregnant. You risk being sued. That should be everywhere. Actually, that might be a huge debate. What do you guys think? That's an interesting topic, actually. Like, if you get pregnant and as you go further along in your pregnancy, you're not able to perform certain parts of the job, obviously, like heavy lifting or things like that, what do you think should happen at that point? Nothing? Like, you just don't have to do that part of the job anymore? Like, what? Obviously, I am not speaking from experience. I've never been pregnant, so moms, chime in here. How did it go for you? What happens where you live? Is it the same thing? Same rules? Let me know. I didn't go back to a call center seasonal job because I saw how the trainer absolutely berated a fellow new hire for being 5 minutes late. I quit out of solidarity for that coworker and because I too was running late the next morning. It was a strange place too. Our training class was interrupted at least 5 times that first week by having to watch wacky promotional videos about the company starring their eccentric CEO. They also promised to retain 75% of their seasonal hires after Christmas, but I found out later they didn't keep a single person from our group. At another seasonal gig, they gave me a 5-minute cash register training, then abandoned me with non-stop lines all day. I kept calling for help because I couldn't complete some transactions on the machine, because I was trained in 5 minutes, and they would only come over after about 15 minutes. It was the most uncomfortable, embarrassing work experience of my life. That is the worst feeling. If you've ever worked a job where you were not properly trained, that pressure, terrible. And then the customers are mad at you, and then the employees are mad at you because they think you're just incompetent, and it's like, well, no, I never learned. I've heard that call center jobs suck. I've never heard good reviews from anyone that has worked at a call center. If you have, I want to hear from you. The owner's brother kept telling me I wasn't washing the windows correctly. I found out he was just screwing with me to make me keep re-washing windows. It was like 94 degrees that day. I walked out. I didn't have another job lined up or anything. I ended up with another job in like a week. People can be cruel. That's not even funny. And what a waste for you. You're just paying me to rewash windows over and over. Stupid. All Alright guys, stay classy out there, stay sassy. I'll see you tomorrow.